Okay, so since I've been away last time, I've done quite a bit of sanding on this neck, really finished up around these transitions nicely, so it is all looking super nice now, and we're ready to kind of move on with the next stage, which is to get the tuners fitted. And this can be something of a tricky process, especially with the type of tuners which I'm going to be using, which are these kind of vintage style ones, because when you fit them, you want them to be kind of touching at the back or very, very close to touching. And the only way you can properly achieve that is if you actually get the holes for the shafts and the bushings drilled in exactly the right place. So I've done a bit of a test run using this template for a Stratocaster, and that will put them exactly where they need to be. If I can kind of demonstrate by sticking a couple in. So that should all be good. However, this is a Stratocaster and it doesn't really fit the Telecaster headstock. Plus, because I'm not using a drill press here, I want to do this from the front face, so I make sure I'm getting that correct. And then what happens going back from there is kind of less important. So to facilitate that, I've made a separate template from the first one, which will actually fit on quite nicely where we need it to. I've done a bit of figuring out, so I know where my tuners need to start and stop, and I've got appropriate marks on this template, which I'm going to transfer all the way across with a square. Like that. Which leaves us with a little bit of setting up to do on the front of the headstock, and then we can kind of get these drilled into position. And I generally like to come about 1/2 inch down from the top edge of the headstock, so I'll just set my marking gauge up to that. And I'm not going to put like really deep marks in there because I don't want to do a load of additional sanding, but that's just kind of enough that I can see it. And I'm going to extend that right the way across the top of the headstock. These are roughly where I want the first and last tuners to go. So we can kind of line all of those marks up and know we're somewhere in the ballpark of where we need to be. So with that done, kind of pretty standard super glue and masking tape technique. Line all my lines up again. Like that, and then I'm going to find a transfer punch that's a nice tight fit. That's a little bit too tight. That one's pretty spot on, and I'm just going to use that to put a dimple, which should be, take all this off, if you can see that, but that's worked out pretty perfectly on the line and the 2 marks that I made, so happy with the way that that's gone. And the next step is to measure these bushings, which are a touch over 9mm, and I've got a lovely little 9mm Famag drill bit there. Which we will set up in the drill, and I'm also set up a bit of a tape flag on here, just a touch deeper than that bushing, primarily so I'm not going to go all the way through when I drill these out. And I've just set this up on a backer board and I've clamped it down because much as I love these Famag drill bits, they are super sharp and do an amazing job and leave a very clean cut. They do have a habit of digging in, gripping your workpiece and pulling it up. And if you're not careful, when you're trying to put like a recess in, as I'm trying to here, you can sometimes just end up drilling straight the way through. And that isn't really what we want in this case. I'm also, because I'm not using a drill press, I'm going to set this up with a square just to make sure I'm somewhere near. Now that's pretty spot on, so I'm just going to continue working my way up. Beautiful. And then with that done, I'll get rid of that one. Now the shafts on these are they're at 7mm. So I'm going to put a little bit of clearance in there, a little bit of wriggle room. So I'm going to use a 7.5. That should give me plenty of scope. And I'm just dropping that into the centre mark from the previous drill bit. Gently drill through. And the one thing I love about these Famag drill bits is that they always leave a nice clean hole out the back as well, which is beautiful. So I will just quickly try these out. And they all fit really nicely. I'm very happy with those at the moment. This can change when you get the bushings in though, because obviously the bushing that locates the thing. So I'm going to take them out again and just very quickly knock those bushings in and then check properly to see how we've done. just try that again. And that all looks pretty spot on. There's a couple of tiny little gaps on a couple of them, but nothing that you'd really notice. So I think next up is I'll get this set up a little bit better on the bench. We'll get the rule properly attached, and then we can start working our way through and putting the screws in. And then I've just got a 1.5mm drill bit in the drill. Again, tape flag on there. I've got them all set up against this rule so that they're in a nice straight line. Just going to drill that out. Again, as always, a bit of wax in those threads. Drive it home. I'm going to tighten them up fully just yet. And obviously the one thing you don't want to be doing at this stage is drilling too deep and coming straight out the other side of the headstock, because that would look a little bit rubbish. And I think the wax on these little screws is really important because they're very thin. And if you're not careful, you can break them and make a right mess of your day. That little bit of wax just makes that ever so less likely. Okay, and that looks to be it. And I'm very happy with them. They look all right. And that's the fronts as well. All looking very nice. So very, very happy with that. It's gone very well. Which means there's only one little job left to do, and that's to take them all off again and just get this headstock properly sanded up to get rid of the pencil marks. And there's one or two little marks on the edge as well that need cleaning away. And obviously need to get the bushings out as well, and what you can normally do is just push them out from the back with a little bit of a punch. Sometimes they're a bit stiff, need a little bit of persuasion. But generally they're not too bad. I've got a little block with some cork on under there, so I'm not going to damage anything. And with that all sanded up, we can now move on to one of the last little jobs that we need to do, and that is to actually, for the first time, get this neck properly attached to the body. And from here it should be a fairly straightforward job. We've already got the holes in the body, so it's just a matter of kind of clamping everything together like that. And then finding a transfer punch that's something like the size of the hole we've drilled, and just putting those marks onto the neck. And hopefully you can see those there. And I've just got a 3mm drill bit, again with a tape flag on. I can just drill down, trying to keep things nice and straight. And then just give them a quick countersink. Just to take that sharp edge off. And we'll be ready to give this a trial fit. So, with all of that done, we can now break out the neck plate. And just start to get this screwed in. And there we have it together for the first time as something resembling an actual instrument. So very happy with that. Neck pocket looks nice and tight. There was a little bit of a gap around the pick guard, but it's not too bad. I think that will be fine. Maybe just a little bit of a tweak in there. I don't know if you can see that. Just to even that gap out a little bit. But apart from that, I think it is looking very nice. And it actually feels like something of an accomplishment to be able to pick it up as a one-piece thing, not a two-piece thing. So yeah, very happy with that. And with those couple of little bits of work out of the way, we're actually getting very, very close now to getting some finish onto this guitar. However, there are still one or two little bits and pieces that we need to do. And I think the next thing I'll do is I'll get all the components onto this control plate and get everything wired up. However, that's going to be for the next episode. I'm going to leave this one here for now. So as always, don't forget to hit the like button if you've enjoyed this. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.